All right. Welcome to Mediumship by Picasso. My name is Picasso Roberts, and I want to say welcome to this channel. I appreciate you stopping in. I would say grab your cup of coffee, your cup of tea, a glass of wine, whatever it is that you can hunker down with and take a moment. This is our Getting to Know You series. And as you can see, there's two of us on the screen. So I have a very special guest today. Her name is, and you go by Anita Denise.
I do. And hi to your viewers and your listeners. The reason why I go by Anita Denise is actually my middle name. And I'm by marriage, I married a Greek Cypriot, and he has a very long name, which is not that bad to sort of say. But in the UK, people struggle with the name. So I use my middle name quite often, as opposed to my married name as well.
Now I'm going to take a stab at the married name. Is it Paniotis?
Excellent. That is perfect.
Well, welcome, Anita, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, inviting me along, Picasso. I love to chat anyway. I was always in trouble at school for talking too much. So I like to sort of be part of your program. It's fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks. That's so good. So for all your listeners, we are talking to Anita in the UK. So you were actually born in East London, Anita, but now you're somewhere else. Where are you now?
I was born in East London, so hence my accent is very strong sometimes. But I now live in Essex, which is not. Is most of the Londoners now live in Essex, to be honest. Change, but literally, so it's very much on the borders of London. So I'm about 40 minutes away from London. So very much, I am a Londoner by birth, and I'm still a Londoner even though I live in Essex. What I love about Essex is it's very much on the edges of the forest. It's very you've got the cities, the towns, and very close to London. So it's very multi-dimensional with all the aspects around us. So we can sort of get here, get there, get wherever we need to go to very quickly.
Yeah, you have. You guys have the best train system over there. I absolutely love that you have the ability to get so far in so little time, even being way out in Essex. So
we still moan about you. When the snow comes, which is like a sprinkling of dust, everything seems to come to a standstill.
Oh. That's funny. That happens in our country too. So people freak out when the weather changes a little bit. As we're recording this, the hurricanes are coming. It's coming my direction.
We've just got rain coming.
So it looks like to me, I did a lot of research and I am fascinated how you started really young when things started happening for you.
I was very young actually, and animals, as you know, are a big passion of mine, and some of my earliest memories are really around animal connection. I won't say communication at that point, but when I was growing up, my family, again, being Londoners, my mum and my father, they had what's called a public house, a pub in the UK, and this pub that we lived in was a very, very old Victorian pub, which, like to the US viewers, this was like going back like in the 1800s, around then, and a cellar. We'd go down, all the beer was stored down there, and my regular to go with my dad every morning before I went to school to go. I love to be down this old space, and I remember standing there. I was about 3 or 4, and I could see this vision of this girl, the same age as myself, fully like we can see each other. But she was dressed in, I didn't know at that time, would be Victorian clothing. And I said to my mum, "Mum, that little girl standing there, who's that little girl?" And they couldn't grasp what I was seeing, but that's my earliest memory, because that, even to this day, that little girl that I saw, I could actually, I'm not an artist, so I can't draw very well, but if I could draw that girl by detail. That's how clear.
And did she speak to you, or she just stood there, or?
She stood there briefly, and then she asked me to come to play with her, and I sort of went to walk towards, because she stood near, there's an exit area. She stood there. I went to walk towards her. Now this was a little bit at the time, a little bit unsettling for myself, because there was this blue door there, which again today I can see as clearly as I can now. Then there was a fire around the door, and she disappeared within the fire. Oh. And I researched this, and actually there was a fire in that building.
Oh, so
Yeah.
she was showing you, then that's just so amazing of what happened as well.
And my parents, I think, was a little bit and not unsettled. They wasn't sure what to say or to do, and it was always like my imagination for a long time. It was my imagination. So,
Mm. Now, are you the only one in your family with this ability?
no, I'm not. It didn't come out too much later in life that my nan's sister, my great aunt, she was more of a what could be a psychic as opposed to a psychic medium. She didn't necessarily bring through spirit so much, but she was very psychic. And it wasn't until my own grandmother passed a spirit that my mum told me about my great aunt that had the ability, and I feel it's because my roots are from Ireland and Catholic background, and I feel because my great great grandmother being Irish here and very strong in her religion, it wasn't spoken about.
Now, there was something that I read about you. I think it was your nan gave you a book or showed you a book on astrology when you were 7.
Yeah. My mum's always been fascinated, even though, to be honest, my mum probably has the ability, but my mum has never had the opportunity to develop her ability. And my mum was always very, very interested in astrology. So again, when I was quite young, I'd be about 6 or 7 at this point, my mum would read the daily horoscopes to us every single day. Now, my mum is a Scorpio and I am a Piscean. And even I've always had a very, very inquiring mind. And I think it's good to have an inquiring mind. And part of my mind can sometimes be quite skeptical as well. Because I like to question and find out and understand. And I remember thinking, there's 12 star signs. How can the whole population of the world fall under literally 12 star signs? So that's where my interest really started. And I was in a bookshop with my nan one day, with my grandma, and literally I saw this small astrology book, and I was asked her to buy it for me, which she did. And really, that's sort of from that young age when I started to really sort of be curious about astrology and how it works with people, star signs. So that's really where, again, that sort of started way back from then.
Wow, that's amazing. I find it fascinating when you can start so young or when things happen for you so young and you have the wherewithal to continue to step into it rather than, run and hide from it. So that tells me you're very strong. That tells me you're a very powerful woman.
Thank you. I describe myself as quite nosy, to be honest. And in a good way, in a nice way. So I just like to know and learn and experience things, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a good side of that. There's being nosy and there's being curious, and curious is great because then you gain knowledge, and that's just a wonderful thing. Yeah, that's great. Did the animal communications start young, or was that after?
I actually
After?
No, that did start. For me, animal communication was really there. I actually feel, looking back on my life, I feel I actually came in with that empathy with animals, because again, I can remember again being very, very small, and I'd be walking with my mum. She'd have my brother in a buggy pushchair, and seeing, like, I remember seeing this little tiny chick that had fallen out of its nest, and it was obviously passed away, but I made my mum go back and pick it up and bury it, because I couldn't take that feeling away from me that I saw. And also again here, now I'm not talking about what people eat for their food, but I remember when I started to ask questions to my grandma. My grandma was very instrumental, I feel, in my journey, because she answered all of my questions that I ever asked her. And I remember saying to her, where does the egg come from? These questions that children start to inquire about. And when I couldn't touch another egg, just because I'm not finicky about food, but it's just that concept of the animal. And so lots of this animal feeling, empathy, I feel I came in with, because I wasn't brought up in that way. I was brought up in a family that just had normal food, just normal regular guys. So I feel I came in with that. And I was getting blessed because my father, big animal lover. And I was very fortunate, from a point of view of domestic animals. I pretty much was able to have the mice, the rabbits, the dogs, the cats. The only one I wasn't allowed to have was a horse. I had a rocking horse instead.
That's funny. That's amazing. As I was reading about you, I understand that you had a healing session with somebody, and that sort of triggered the direction that you took off with regards to the healing work. You are a Reiki master, am I correct? And yeah, and then where are you thinking? You have and you know what, I'll go down, I want to go down the list and I want to go over some of this with you, but it's so fascinating that spirit was telling me that healing is her major, it's like your superpower. And whether it be with animals or with people, it doesn't really matter because we're all souls. But they said that healing is your deal, that's your power.
Healing for me is my passion. I have such a lot of respect for people who do the healing work, the healing aspect. And again here, I think sometimes people don't or understand or appreciate what can come from healing. And I know for me, my journey did start through the healer. When I say my journey started, I know my journey started young, but my actual step onto the pathway, so to speak, or the runway of the work that I now do was literally through the healer route. And that really, you mentioned I went for healing. That came about because I think most of us, like the mediums, the psychics that do the work that we do, and the healers that do the work, most of us will come in with a story, a journey, a reason. And I do sometimes, I'm sure, not just about myself, we go through our lives and we wonder, why did that happen? Why? And I've been guilty of why me sometimes. And I think it's only normal to feel why me. Yes. But we will all have our own why me. And that's fine. But I think it's how we then adapt and grow forward from that aspect. It's okay to feel why me, but as long as you don't stay in that space. And I was blessed with a very happy childhood. I will be honest, it was just normal. And then suddenly my father went to spirit when I was 12 years of age. And that really, I feel, was a period where I lost my faith because I started to see, my eyes was opened at that point to the suffering. I would say to, obviously my own suffering, but then I started to see things on the TV. That time there was lots of starving children in Africa, and I started to really question why people suffer, why animals suffer, why we have this aspect. So I did start to question lots of aspects of life in general. And then I actually, and I'm happy to say in my story, I was diagnosed with cancer some years back, and feeling sorry for myself. And I remember saying to a friend, why me? And she said, why don't you come along for some healing? And I went along for healing, and that was phenomenal. It actually turned my life around for the better. That's why I came for the healer route. And the experience was phenomenal, and I couldn't have made it up, what I felt and just everything that took place. And I remember when I went through the process, my own healing process, I actually spoke to the lady there, and I actually enrolled to become a healer, to be a trainee SNU healer. That's with the Arthur Findlay College, which I am also approved, a registered healer with the SNU College.
That is, I'm in awe. Having been to Arthur Findlay College, I only was there for a week, but I am in awe of anybody that goes through the whole, because it's a process.
It is a process.
It is just somebody to become a tutor at Arthur Findlay College. It is not just handed to you. You don't just say, hey, I can teach, and then show up and teach. You have to jump through all of the hoops and then some. And so my hat is off to you, my dear. It's just an amazing achievement to be able to do that.
The Reiki really came about because I don't know if you're aware, I am a sound healer as well. I do a lot of healing work.
Yep.
And my sound healer, the lady that I actually learned my sound healing with, she is a big Reiki person. And again, I have a lot of compassion and respect for my Reiki master, Sarah Gregg. And she actually, I did my Reiki with her, and I progressed to do my gong practitioner with her as well. So it was like a bit of a journey that I did with her. It wasn't shamanic, but it's along those routes with the gong and the sound that comes in.
Right. Sound healing is just so amazing. Let me go over some of the because you have a menu. You have a menu. It's just beautiful. I love this. So you were trained as a healer, and you studied at Arthur Findlay College and became a certified trained healer with the Spiritual National Union. Is that correct?
I did, yeah. I trained basically with the SNU and approved healer by the SNU, the Off College. So again, it's probably about 15 years or more, but I sort of still, you have to go along now and again for reviews and renew your pass. But yeah.
And then you also do past life readings, and you do Spirit just kept saying healing is her strength. Everything I wrote down as I was writing this down, they kept telling me Spirit's like, healing is her strength. Okay, thank you. I'm writing this down. Healing is okay. I got it. I'm with you there. Okay, got it. They just kept hammering it home, and I'm like, I will make sure to bring this up for sure. Now you have you also do trans mediumship, spiritual coaching, and something that I've never heard of. Now I've heard of it, but it's a different term, I think, where you are. It's called house. Is it
The geomancy, yeah.
geomancy? Okay.
Basically, it's a bit similar to feng shui.
Okay.
The house geomancy, the reason I do, and I've done a couple recently, was really with really interesting stories, because I am able to read the houses, as in, you know, who may have been there prior to, what may have taken place there, the history of the land nearby. One of the cases I just done very recently, they've been there, the mother and daughter have been in this house quite some time, but they've got their dogs there, don't like going outside. And it turned out, I said, there's a big black dog outside your house. I could see this from my mediumship. And there's a guy there that's also stayed in that house. And I could see a cemetery a few hundred yards away. And the history, they went and looked up the history, and the guy who lived in that house actually worked in a cemetery and was now buried in the cemetery, but he had a big black dog that used to be kept outside, and her dogs didn't like to be outside because they could see the black dog outside. So we can pick up this information around, you know, and then help people to like empower themselves to literally, I want to say cleanse your house, but a lot of people nowadays, and me myself, you know, we have the internet, the Wi-Fi, the TV, plugs. All of this builds up a lot of energy, and I feel we don't necessarily realise just how much it stores in our space, and what effect it can have on our own health. And part of the geomancy that I do, I take a very basic graph of someone's home space, room by room, and I use my pendulum. I do a graph pendulum, and I can literally pick out pockets where the energy will be picking up from the EMF energy. If there's like radio masts coming through windows, it's quite phenomenal actually. It's not about me, but what you can pick up on using a graph and a pendulum, and people can do this themselves.
And I would say also, to add on to that anything emotionally heavy leaves an imprint as well. So trauma, and those sorts of things, doesn't have to be even a death or a passing. It can be the emotional trauma can leave an imprint on that space. And you can also, if you're an empath, you can pick that up as well. I'm so glad you do that work, because it's really, really important. That it's important for people to know that those kind of things do leave residue, and if they have happened in your space that you are newly renting or have just bought and it's your home and you want to make it your home, but there's this big imprint of something, you could reach out to somebody like Anita here. You know, it comes in handy, let me just tell you. So anybody that's listening, if you're interested, if you have trouble in your home or you're not sure what's going on energetically speaking, doesn't have to come to your house. She can do this. You can do this virtually, right?
The two most recent ones I've done, one was in Norway and the other one was in the States. They're the two most recent.
I'm interested to know, with the gallery work or any of the work that you do, so much in the UK is done through the churches.
Yeah.
And we have so much less of that here. It's just not the norm in churches here. So what is the difference? What do you feel is the difference between sticking only to churches or adding other outside venues aside from churches? Is
I
there a difference?
There is, I will say there is a difference. The churches, I mean, I love serving the churches, and the churches they have, and we don't just have the churches, we will have like spiritual centres. So work along the very similar lines of the churches, and you know the people there are really very supportive, and they generally want to work with spirit and feel with spirit and be with spirit. So I feel, but again, like anything in human life, you know, you'll go to some places, they will support you, and I think with our mediumship especially, you do need to be supported, you know, because if you're sitting there and the arms are folded and no one wants, you know, I'd rather be sitting at home watching TV, then it's not going to work so conducive for spirit.
Yeah.
On the whole, I will be honest, I've not experienced that much. I've been fortunate, the church centres that I go to, most people there are very open to spirit and want to work with spirit and be for spirit. Then we have lots of, in the UK, I'd say at the moment, the UK is very much, it is adapting the way mediumship is being delivered, as in we've got now certain hubs, public house will do mediumships, you've got people do their own DEMS, and I think that it's finding its way to work for everybody, because I find, what I've been finding is that the younger people, say like probably like 35 plus, they don't necessarily want to be in the churches for some reason. Not
Yeah.
so they tend to go more, say, towards the private DEMS.
Yeah.
And so there is like a mixture, but then I think there's the opportunity, and also again, let's face it, each medium will have their own personality, their own gifts they bring to the demonstration, and I think it's important that, you know, you will connect to a medium that probably you like to work with and sit with. And again, here we've got very, very vast range of different types of styles of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's very important, if you're thinking of having a private reading, to maybe go and watch a few mediums work.
I always recommend that. And it's a little more difficult it's not as accessible in our country as it is in your country, which I wish I could snap my fingers and have it be different overnight, but it's still very young and it's still growing and all of that. And then we have so many churches and so many different kind of just shut down. And I personally have had really bad experiences with churches growing up. And so tend to not go to the church. If it was a spiritualist church, I would be great with that. I would be okay with that. But only because of my experiences. But at Arthur Findlay College, it was lovely. The services were lovely. And you could feel the difference. It was about intention. And it wasn't about, you know, you sinner, get you.
I truly get that. And I think when you, if anyone here is listening or watching have got that spiritual connection to their self, you will feel at home there. There's something about, you go there and you just feel at home. Yeah. And the sounds, as you've been there, are amazing. Again, I am very blessed because where I live, that is about 40 minutes away from me, less than, depending on traffic. So I'm very fortunate where I live to have these opportunities on my doorstep, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
But, I think the churches, again, what you're talking about, the certain churches, for many years, again, I know the pain you go in now. Actually, a few Christmas ago, I decided to just go on to the local church for a Christmas Eve service, and we was deemed as sinners because we just went along for Christmas Eve service. Why would you do that? I could become a regular.
Okay, so I would like to just ask you about your dog training that you did. I find it fascinating because I love dogs.
Well, it's funny because when I was, again, small, I'm one of these people, I just like, my mind is always thinking, what can I do? What can I do? And growing up, I say, Mum, I want to be a vet. And I have to be honest with you, completely honest with myself. I wasn't that academic at school, not because I was always too busy talking too much. And I have to again confess, I wasn't a great one for sitting down there and doing the homework. I wasn't dedicated enough. So realization check, I couldn't be a vet because I didn't put the studies in. And but the animal passion has always been there. And then, and again, I always had animals in my life. And we've got this particular, by then I'd married and I had my children, and we've got this wonderful chocolate Doberman called Jimmy. Now he was part of my soul, and to this day he's been in spirit a long time now, but he was the naughtiest dog I've ever shared my life with. In a night. He wasn't aggressive. I mean, he had an aggressive bone in his body, but if he could find trouble, he would find trouble. And I remember my brother came round to have coffee one night, and he sat there with me and he said to me, and I had to get up 51 times, he counted, to stop the dog doing something. And he said to me, now I know why I've got a Yorkshire Terrier. We laughed about it. But basically, I enrolled into the local dog training club. And I remember I went a year around, went through puppy class, and then for a different class, and at Christmas they had a party, and they gave out a special award, and they said we very rarely give out a special award, but this award goes to this year to Anita with Jimmy, and it's a perseverance. I said, I don't know if it's been to being sorted or flat. But I learned so much from that dog that I actually went on to, I was invited by the school, by the club that I went to become one of their trainees, one of their club trainees. And I started to do puppy class, and then I actually then went on to do more, and I actually am qualified as a professional behavior specialist in canine psychology, and that really is a massive part of my life that I loved, and to this day it just gives me joy to talk about it. And what was lovely, having had Jimmy, who was I learnt so much from, I'd see the dogs come into class, and it's like anything, you have the book to learn it by, and then sometimes just throw the book away because you have to do it what comes within. But what I learned from him, and obviously the training that I did, really was able to help me to help people coming through with dogs that we had a lot of damaged dogs coming over from Romania, rescue dogs that needed help, lots of animals that were really not in a good way, and that's how my journey into animal communication started, because I actually I'm a kennel, even today I'm a kennel club assessor for the UK, so I do go out to different locations and sort of test for the good citizens, which is like a level of obedience that they do here. And I remember then when they sort of said to me, would you like to be a bit more involved with the training? I did, and then I actually had the opportunity to actually run my own school for 12 years. So I actually ran my own, not just being a dog trainer, I actually ran my own school for 12 years. But it was during the dog training, working as a trainer, that I became very aware of my ability then to actually communicate with the animal telepathically. I went, oh, wait, because what happened was I was one lady, she was coming there with this lovely collie, and it was a rescue dog, and and the dog had quite a lot of issues, and every week I'd give her a plan to go away with and to practice with and to put into progress, and we'd come back the next week and I'd say, have you done? And the dog was no different, and she said, oh, I've done that, I've done that. And one day I was thinking, well, what do I try now? And I was looking up in the space, glanced down at the dog, and he said to me, she's not telling you the truth. Yeah. And that really, I thought for a minute, I thought, did I imagine that? Or and he looked at me and said, no, she's not telling you the truth.
Oh, busted.
Yes. And then and the interesting thing was, I can't remember how I addressed it now, but actually that dog came on to do really, really well, and actually passed good citizens to silver level.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. See, you got to be careful because your animal will tell on you.
You don't believe me.
Okay, so I would like to talk to you about, you have a new book, and it's Animal Astrology. is that the title, Animal Astrology, and it's an ebook?
It's Animal Astrology, joining the dots between animals and astrology. So literally, because which is again, it all started from way back when I was younger. The astrology aspect came in there. And what I've done is literally, I've obviously gone for the 12 zodiac signs, but you can pick up traits of the own dog's star sign.
Wow.
And with that, you've got their likes, their dislikes, hot interest, and it's not just for dogs; it's for all animals. So we have horse people here, we have people, cat people, so rabbits, guinea pigs. So you can sort of get a tap into the personality of your animal through their star sign.
Now, I watched a video of you with Aaliyah.
Oh yeah, Aaliyah.
Okay. It was just a 10-minute video. That dog loves you to bits. That dog, I know that it was her dinner time, but she was all over you in that video. So I would ask you, what is Aaliyah's sign?
She is a Leo. Funny enough, she's a Leo. She is, and in my book, what I've done is, because I actually share my home with 8 dogs now, and I put each of their personalities of the star sign that they are. Now, funny enough, Leah, she doesn't come across a true Leo though. There's aspects that are, she's very much want to be for the family and be with you, but she's not even on the cusp. So with her, and which I've not done this yet, I'm going to go into numerology with animals as well, because numerology also has a big aspect around us, what the life path number we're in and all the aspects. But out of all my animals, Leah's the only one who I would say is not a true Leo. Even though she's got aspects of it there, she's not actually a true Leo.
I wanted to ask you, I'm going to dive in a little bit here. Your mom is still living, correct?
Yes, yeah, she's still with us, yeah.
So how accepting is she of what you do? And I felt a hesitation with regards to mom and what you do. Is she okay with what you do now, or?
Yeah, my mum's completely okay with what I do. My mum's one of these people, and she can't help it. Whatever I've gone to do in my life, she has reservations about. So even when I first left school and went into hairdressing, she had reservations about that. So it's whatever I done, she will have a reservation in some way, shape or form, and that is just my mum. She can't help it. But I know here that the more initially when I started to do the work, they wouldn't talk about it, because I don't feel they really understood what I was doing. Now it's interesting because I know I'm a very open person, so I shall share with your listeners. Now I've got 2 brothers. One of my brothers is very open, and we will have readings. I personally don't read for my family because I feel we are too close to them and we know too much about them. And I think it's much better for them. I will do healing for them. That's different, but I will not do readings for them. My youngest brother does have readings, and he's very accepting of all of what I do. Now, my other brother and his partner, his wife, my brother John will tell you to myself, he shows my face, it frightens him. Not because anything to be frightened of, but it's because it's the unknown. And my brother, he doesn't like to question anything. But having said that, more recently, unfortunately, my sister-in-law is not very well at the moment, and they actually approached me. I never push myself on anybody. I think it's people, if they want us, they will find us. The right people will find who they need to find.
Yes. It's so interesting. When I was writing down that question, they said, "Is mom accepting now?" And then they made me feel this hesitation. And then they started talking about compartmentalizing to be able to cope. So I didn't know if my question would be, is that mom or is that you?
That's a bit of both, to be honest.
Okay.
Definitely is my mum, but for me, not now, but I would say in my back when I was a lot younger, I went for a period where everything had to be in compartments, and I think that's where I got trapped into the why me. because when we're living in that, and I wouldn't say I've not got OCD in any way, shape, or form, but I do like things to be in order, organized. And I had that I did take it from my life quite a bit, but it to a point where it wasn't healthy.
Okay.
I feel maybe I was, because when I was diagnosed with cancer, and it was a long time ago, it's all in the past. But the biggest thing was why. I couldn't get over and then I thought that my lesson, I feel, was you don't always know why. So
Yeah.
don't put things in boxes. So
Right.
I stopped putting things in boxes.
Yeah, good for you. And that's then why they brought it up.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's probably from my condition, I'd say. To be honest, my mum's been very much like it. My nan was like it. So I've been, and I've come from a family of very strong women in my family. Okay, so it's like I've got even like two brothers, but it's the females who seem to have the stronger dynamics in the family. So it's all in the boxes. I think that's where it's gone through.
Do you have, you mentioned your Irish roots, but isn't there a bit of Scottish in your family as well?
Yes, it's a bit of Scottish as well. My husband, we joke, yeah, it's a bit of Scottish. That does go back quite some time though as well, with the Scottish roots. So that's and I do love going up to Edinburgh, which when I get a chance to go up there. But that's more from my father's side. The Scottish roots that comes there from there.
Somebody wanted it brought up because they literally finished it with lass, and I'm like, okay, so we'll bring it up. So there's definitely, and they want you to make sure that you don't forget it.
Yeah, and I do love. I mean, I don't think I could live in Scotland, but I go up there, and I always want to spend more time in Scotland when I go there. You know, and I always want to go back to Scotland, but I just feel here that's where the Londoner is too strong in me, because I know that's where I need to be, around in the London area. But when I go up there, I feel at home when I go to Scotland.
When you close your eyes and you have 8 fur babies, when you close your eyes and you breathe in your fur babies, who is the loudest energetically? Who is the loudest or the neediest for you?
I haven't got to close my eyes. I know straight. It's my China. And she's a Chinese crested, and she is Aquarius, and she is absolutely the powerhouse of my pack. And she is, I mean, she's got so many health issues. She's nearly 12. Now that dog, she is there, and I can hear her above all the others. She's epileptic. She had trouble with her spine. She had major surgery, but she's a fighter. This is an animal that, because even the animal communication that I do sometimes, and this is where I feel where I do a lot of my work, is when people, is it the right time to say goodbye? Is it the right process to put the animal through more surgery? There's that aspect that comes in with a lot of work that I do, and I always say to people, when it's your own animal, it's quite difficult because we're too emotionally connected. And with China, she's also had 2 lots of mammary gland tumours removed. And I actually spoke to the vet, would I do it again? And I actually, at the time I said, no, I would not. But that dog has come on fighting. She's got more strength and energy than a dog I've got here at 6 years of age.
Isn't that amazing?
She has that will to want to live and want to be here. And she's the one, as I say, like I've got massive dog beds for the dogs to be comfortable on. And she will take up, one of them is probably about 4 foot by 3 foot. She takes up the whole bed. And no other dog can get on it when she's on it, and she doesn't even move. She's a little rolled up ball. And she just goes with one eye, and they all walk away.
Let me ask you, what are your thoughts on Cesar Millan?
Good question. An interesting question. I actually did see Cesar Millan when he came to the UK. It was it was quite some time ago now, because when I was still and the first thing that struck me was how small he was, because no disrespectful, because on TV obviously he looked much bigger, and I will go firstly from the experience that I saw in I know it was in London somewhere. I went to see it. I can't remember where it was now, but I know I went there, and they asked people to bring dogs along that had certain issues with them, and the dogs they brought along on this occasion, these dogs did not have behavioural issues. I like the way he spoke about energy, because I do believe, you know, we are all energy. He speaks a lot about energy, but I have to say, when I watched him work in the States on the TV in the UK, I have to say, at times I was mortified. I will be honest, but I will also swing it around, because there's been aspects where some of those dogs should have been. It's a very difficult one to say, but some of those dogs, you know, what he done and how he managed it. But in my opinion, sometimes the dog is so badly damaged, and animal is so badly damaged, it's, you know, there has to be other ways than doing what they're doing to that animal.
Yeah.
And I actually just stopped watching him. There was one particular dog I remember watching where it had the PC, the prong collar on it. It had the electric collar on it. He was using a tennis racket with him as well. And I just thought that there's a borderline of how much you can help an animal as well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't judge people. I don't feel it's not my place to judge people. Would I go to him with one of my dogs? No. But I thought we need to be mindful. There's a limit to what behavioral work and communication can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So for those listeners who are listening and are watching, and if you have a situation where you're bringing a rescue in and you're uncertain, but you want the dog or want the pet, connect with somebody like Anita to get that, to start that communication between yourself and the animal, and get an idea of where that newfound pet or that possible pet has come from, so you can understand them better and see if it's really energetically a good fit for you. I think you're the magic piece, Anita, that people will need in situations like that. You know, it's a piece of the puzzle that would be so helpful.
Is a good piece of the puzzle as well, because sometimes people have got other animals at home, and it's knowing the dynamics of how bringing the new puppy, the new animal in from outside, it's going to fit in the dynamics that you would. And also, it's not just the other animals. It's always good to bring in. This is where I feel my dog training years have helped my communication, because it's almost like circumstances. You know, we all have different life circumstances. So it's bringing that animal into a, you know, if you've got, say, like an elderly lady who doesn't get out that often, and you bring a rescue husky or collie dog, which does happen in the UK, you know, it's not going to be a good mix.
No.
In how you can adapt for the, you know, situations, circumstances, and to get off to a best start for the animal and for yourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say everybody keep that in mind. It's a good investment to do if you're thinking about bringing on another pet or a new pet into your home, especially a rescue. Yeah. So what do you do, Miss Anita, when you have and this goes for people too, a lost or a missing pet that, or person even, that does not want to be found?
It's a very good question, because I would say anyone who's lost an animal, looking in that area is the most difficult aspect of animal communication. And even if an animal wants to be found, normally the animal is quite stressed, quite worried, quite anxious. So you're not necessarily pick up the clarity of necessarily, it takes a while. But there are instances where the animal does not want to be found. And animals are no different to you and I. They are sentient beings. They have fear. They feel joy. They feel cold. They feel hungry. And if an animal doesn't want to be found, I actually did read for a cat a little while ago that did not want to be found, and it made it quite clear to me it did not want to be found. And the thing is with animal, and it wasn't because of it was lady owner, and she brought a new partner into a home, and the new partner did not like the cat too much, and the cat decided to find a new home. Explained to me why. Now, and I knew it showed me where it even went to live, and I knew it was okay. And the female owner, she said, all I want to know is it's okay, as long as it's okay, which it was okay. And I told her, and she was accepting. But then I will be honest with you, there was another incident, and that was funny, in Scotland, where the animal was taken by relationship breakup, was taken by one of the partners, and did not want to be found. So it's an area where I will be honest, I always honor the animal.
I'm so happy to hear that. And I knew that that would be your answer, but I want people out there to know that if they have a missing pet, maybe just the question rather than where is my pet, or just maybe, is my pet okay?
Yeah.
Are they okay with where they are?
If the animal wants to be found, that again it's a little bit more easier, because I can then tap into the animal. I get often quite a good quality I've got when I do animal communication. I can smell quite clearly, so I can get a smell for where they may be, if they're near something damp, something dry. So I can use my sense of smell quite a lot with animal communication. The first thing people want to know is the animal still alive? So we first would work out if the animal is still alive or the animal has crossed over. Mm-hmm. And once you know the animal, and again, I like to work on a timeline when I'm looking for lost animals. The timeline makes, it doesn't matter if it's like a week or a day, or a timeline helps. And also it's good to get any possible sightings, because from there we can then really track where the animal is. And I say it's not the easiest area of communication, because this happens quite often. You locate the animal and it's been seen there. By the time the people get there, it's moved on again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So trying to get them to stay there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And so often there's fear because there's sounds that they don't know, and movement, and all of this that's so new to them. But I find it interesting, and I'm so glad that you honor what the animal wants, and I knew you would, but I just want people to hear it. It would be really hard to let go if your heart is breaking, but knowing they're alive and knowing they're okay is just, it's part of the healing. It'll be the beginning of the healing process.
Yes. Yeah.
So let me ask you, so there is something so very decadent about a relationship between a human and a horse. Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, for me, they're just stunning creatures. I mean, they are for me. I mean, I love all animals, but there's something about that the image. They're so beautiful. I just look at them. They're so serene. There's something for me mystical and magical about the horse, and such a large creature, gentle. They're so gentle, and they just grow. Eat. They don't need to eat meat. They just hear. For me, it's the epitome, I feel, of freedom. You set free spirit that's out there. I know they're in stables and they have to be looked after, but for me, just seeing the animal there, and I love to see the horses when they're not being, they're just there in their natural space. I actually have got a lot of, because again, where I live, I'm very blessed. There's a lot of I've got friends who've got horses. I do a lot of work with horses, and they are just so they're just so lovely to communicate and connect with. And I don't know the names of all the bits of the body on the horse, but they clearly let me know what's hurting. They clearly let me know what needs working on. For any of people who are watching who are at that stage where they may need to say goodbye to their animal, the importance, if you can, to be there as the animal crosses over. It's as painful as it is. It's also beautiful to be there. They rely upon us so much, and I know, again, when like my Jimmy crossed over and the vet said to me, "Are you going to be here?" And I said, "Oh, of course." And he said, "You'll be surprised at how many people can't be here. They just go in that moment of need." So I think it's important for anyone who is watching or listening, and if you come to that stage at some point in your relationship with your animals, try to be there.
It's very, very difficult, but at the same time, it is such a bond that is created soul to soul.
Where I really, again, the mediumship for me is when you go work in the spirit world, and there comes through that dog or the cat or the horse, and they're with. that fails to amaze me, I have to say.
It's so funny that happens. It happens sometimes when I do a gallery event. I forget to tell people that their pets can come through too. I forget. I'll be on one side of the room and then I'll see an animal coming towards me, just, just to trolloping along. And I'm like, oh, okay, here's whose lab is this? Or who, we've got a dog here. So yeah, it's quite interesting. I would ask you, do you ever argue with spirit? Not in anger, but like a.
I think it's one. So I think it's one for. Do I argue with spirit sometimes? Yes, I do question. Yes, I do. Not so much argue. I do question. Yeah, quite a lot actually. And I tend to, where I question it more so is after I've done, like I say, I do a demonstration mediumship, public, platform mediumship, and then I come away and I go back and I question, and I go back sometimes to who I've worked with and what I've questioned and what I've seen. So yes, I do very much question with the spirit world. It comes in for me. I do have that very curious mind.
Yeah.
And I want to sometimes ask, where has it come from? Why has it come? And it's that aspect that is just, it's me, to be honest. I do question spirit a lot.
So I would ask you, Miss Anita, what is one thing about you that nobody knows that would maybe surprise them?
Oh dear. Let me think of one thing that would surprise you. Now, there's loads of things I can think of. I'm trying to think of a nice one. I do have a naughty streak in me, I have to say.
Oh, do share.
I'll sure tell you a naughty one actually. When I was in my hairdressing days, I was quite young, so I had a lot to learn then. And I don't know if in the States we have what we call in the UK, like certain type of people, princesses who want everything perfect. And it was like one particular day, this particular person was like really pushing me to my limits. So she wanted a cup of coffee, and instead of putting sugar in it, I put 2 spoonfuls of salt in it. And I so a bit of a naughty aspect about me, but I do have a naughty streak in me.
I love that.
That's the East Ender in me.
Now, if you could live in any country in the world besides the UK, where would it be and why?
Right, now, this is again a very good question. I mean, I do love the UK. I also like to travel. Now, I'm not long. My husband family originated from Cyprus. I'm not long come back from Cyprus. Now, I have a very, very strong connection to the Middle East. I don't know why I do, but I just feel here I have a very strong connection to that. So I feel if I had the opportunity to live anywhere in the world, I know it'd be more within that part of the world, in the Middle East, because I just feel here it's the culture, it's not just, I want to say to, I feel it's the whole area. Like I look at the Lebanon, look at Syria, I look at Egypt. There's all that aspect of that part of the world that I really draws me to. And I feel if I there's 2 places that really, really pour my spirit and my soul. One is Egypt and one is Morocco, which is Africa.
I keep hearing Egypt for you, Egypt, and that is just amazing. Why do you feel that's from a past life, or do you feel that is just?
I do feel from a past life, 100%. A past life connection. And I just feel he's not just, I know it's not just Egypt, there's this very strong pull for some reason to I know we can't go to Syria and live the war-torn countries, but I know that there's a pull there, part of me that's journeyed there in the past. So for the nearest I can get there I could go to Egypt, but it's like being in Cyprus, I feel near to that aspects of the history of the Middle East and that part. So for me, it would be, say, it's that part of the world where, again, if I'm not brave enough to uproot, I know I'm not, but that's, if the magic wand said I could go there and come back, that's where I would go.
Yeah, that's interesting. They're showing me this a tomb like, and do you know the heads hieroglyphics with the head of the dog from the side view? You know what I mean? From the side view, I keep seeing that. Do you know what that connection is?
I definitely know there's a connection there with I want to go to Tutankhamun, that period when that era. There's definitely for me. I don't feel I was a pharaoh. I just feel here. I know I've had a connection to that part of the seeing of the pyramids, being part of the ceremony around there.
Yeah, it's something to do with the setting to rest, the setting to the ceremony or the setting to rest of somebody or something.
To do, and I feel it's where a lot of when I was younger, I've got to do with, say, with the ceremony, because I do, there's a lot of things I do, like with I do herbal medicine, I do that aspect, and I feel it comes in from that time there, because it's more
Yeah.
about using the isis and the oils and all the aspect of the, and so I know that's where I see the ceremony would have helping people to pass over. Again, when I was very small, I used to have this vision regularly of I can't, when they used to carry the dead off on the ship into the sky. I used to see that regularly, but I
Wow.
didn't know what it was.
As you were speaking, they kept giving me all these visions of what it looked like, what it felt like, and it's so quiet and so peaceful. And there's not a lot of, there's no noise, but
No.
it's so very peaceful in that process, in that ceremony. Okay, so I would ask you, what grounds you?
Well, my dogs.
Dogs.
My dogs.
Yeah.
I do, again, I love to walk. Again, I've got forest on my doorstep, so I can. But what really grounds me and makes me I connect completely with my, is, I don't know if you're aware, I do exhibit my dogs. I do show some of my dogs.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, so that what really, when you say what grounds me, that really grounds me, because I'm very much here. And the interesting thing is, like, in the show world, with the dog showing world, they're more spiritual than they realise. In the way of the game of communication, because it's not spoken about, but it's just been, you can feel the shift of the energy with the animals there. We're all like-minded people, but it's really the animals, the dog showing, that really grounds me and makes me, I want to say, not say normal, but it just I'm in a different bubble.
Yeah.
I'm away from the family, I'm away from the medium, and I'm just with people that's just like doing a passion we love doing.
Besides animals, besides your dogs, what and besides spirit, what makes your heart sing?
My heart sing. I actually do love music, actually.
Okay. All right.
I can't sing, but but I do love music, and I do love to dance as well. So, and again, just I'm not a professional dancer by any way, shape, or means. I've got two left feet, but I do love to dance. So singing and dancing really is a passion of mine, joy of mine.
I love that too. I love to dance as well. And oftentimes, if I have a reading, I'll dance. I'll crank the music and I'll dance before I start the reading, before I get online and start a reading. Or if I have a gallery event, I'll go outside with the headphones on and I'll be rocking out outside, and there's just something that lifts the energy, lifts the spirit. It's
Really does.
beautiful.
It lifts the spirit, it lifts the soul. And I just think here, just being able to, just to be able to, just to move, even if someone's not got excellent mobility, we can still sit in a chair, move our arms, and just get the energy flowing, and being free. So that's where, and I really love to be, when the weather's good, to be outside in my garden, barefoot, having a little dance and a sing in my garden.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. I just watched on Netflix, it was yesterday or the day before, Creedence Clearwater Revival at Royal Albert Hall. I think, is
Yes,
that what
yeah, right, oh, yeah,
that
yeah.
it, wow.
I've been there a few times for different things, and there's an amazing space in there. Absolutely, I've been
Wow.
for in there. I've also just brought a memory back to me, which again, people don't know about me. I actually, when I was in my hairdressing years, I actually was part of done a competition in hairdressing actually there when I was about 17.
You did.
She bought different hairstyles from around the UK to compete different, and it was very like creative modern hairstyles at the time, and I was part of that process.
Wow.
I didn't win.
Oh,
But just being part of it was amazing, just really was amazing.
right. Because what an honor, what a very special place. I remember reading some of the history of the mediums from the beginning who would demonstrate in that hall. And wow, it's just
Harry Edwards, big healer in the UK, is now in spirit world. He actually could fill the Royal Albert Hall with his demonstrations of healing.
So if anybody, for the listeners and the people who are watching, Royal Albert Hall is not just a big long space. It is a space that goes, it's sort of long, but it goes up. So you have all of these tiers, all of these levels of seating that is just amazing, and the color, and it's just.
And where you enter it from, it's actually round as well, so it's round from, so it's really is, and it's images are probably readily available online, but you say the color, the red is stunning. It's a beautiful space to be in.
Yes, I think, didn't Doris Stokes, she used to demonstrate there. Yeah, the happy medium. I love watching some of the videos on of Doris Stokes. Just she's.
Because when I was small, my nan and my mum, even though we spoke about them earlier and their thoughts and their feelings, they would sit and watch her on the TV. She'd be on the TV. If I remember correctly, it was on a Saturday evening, she'd be on the TV.
I didn't know about her until I stepped into the mediumship world. And then I started looking, because I wanted to know the history. I wanted to know, look, I wasn't a good student either coming up.
A clip somewhere of her, which I was shown by one of my mentors, where she honors her mediumship, she honors herself, because she's at a big demonstration. She's saying, well, they're not here tonight. But she was honoring that, because most of them go, oh my god, what if no one comes, what if this, when you're going to do a gallery. But she just stood there, she went, well, they're not here tonight, and she sort of took about a good few minutes before she started to work. But I thought, respect to her.
Okay, now for my favorite part. I talked to you a little bit about a questionnaire that I really love, that I got from watching James Lipton on, and he was an actor, but he was a phenomenal interviewer on the show. It was called Inside the Actor Studio. Now, the questionnaire that he would go through with his interviewee at the end of his session, it's very simple. He picked it up from a French journalist by the name of Bernard Prévost. And it's very simple. And with your permission, I'll begin.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. So, Anita, what is your favorite word?
No.
You are so naughty. Love it. What is your least favorite word?
My least. Let me just think. Can I? There's two words. Can I?
Two words. That's allowed. Yeah. What turns you on?
Oh, pretty things. I am a bit of a East End girl. I do like pretty, especially if it sparkles.
And what turns you off?
Oh, I've got a big thing about certain foods. I have to say, I just even the thing of looking at certain food now would turn my stomach right over.
Oh. What sound or noise do you love?
I do love the sound of my gongs, I have to say. And two things I like: the sound of my gongs, and I love the sound of wild birds.
Oh, yeah. And what sound or noise do you hate?
I actually detest the sound of, when you, is it a chalkboard or blackboard you'd call in the States, and you hear that scratching. Oh, even now, I'm shuddering as I think about it. That is the sound I absolutely hate.
What is your favorite curse word?
Shit.
That's a tame one. It's okay. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
If I like to, let me. I've been very fortunate. I've changed profession a few times there. So if I had my time again, what would I am quite creative, and I think I'd like to do something along the lines with my hands to be, because I've never really explored that part of me, the creativity part. So yes, I would go more along the lines of art, actually, to be doing art.
Mhm. And then if heaven exists, what would you like to hear when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I'd like to hear my nan and my dad saying hi. We're here for
Come
them.
on over.
Yeah, come on over. I know they'll be there. Hi. I know they're there with me lots, but that's what I'd like to.
Always. Yeah, always. That's fantastic. Well, it has absolutely been a pleasure chatting with you. And what I'd like to do now is just go over, where can people find you? I know you've got a website, you've got your Facebook groups, you've got a podcast, your email. Just go down the list. And if you have an event going on, go ahead and add that. And then everybody I will make sure that all of her links will be in the description area on this particular recording. So.
Great, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here with you today, Picasso. Now, most people can find me on my website, which is anitadenise.com. My email is anitadenise@hotmail.com. I'm on social media, on Facebook as Anita Denise, Psychic Medium. I'm on Instagram, Anita Denise #1. I also, my podcast is, which I'm really enjoying doing the podcast. It's all about holistic therapies that are available. That is the Holistic Jam podcast with Anita Denise. So basically, it's quite Anita Denise. So it's a .com. So basically, it's quite straightforward to find, really. And my events, I've got an event coming up on the 22nd of October. I'm doing an online and communication workshop for a centre in the States. So I'm looking forward to that, which can be found on my social media, to the links. I'm also putting together an communication certified course, which will be taking place in the new year. So people who want to come on that will actually be able to go and be certified in their own way to get insurance to be an communicator. That will run over roughly 6 months. It will be done online and on Zoom. So that's what I've got planned at this moment in time.
All right. So everybody, her information, Anita's information will be in the description area. And as for me, you can always find me here on YouTube. It's Mediumship by Picasso. You can find me on Facebook, Mediumship by Picasso, and my website is mediumshipbypicasso.com. Please know that you can book me for private readings. My readings are 90 minutes. And while that sounds long, sometimes you get to the end and go, what happened? It's not long enough. And I integrate my readings so we get you exactly what you need, whether it's mediumship or psychic work or soul charts or whatever it is that you need, we get there. And then you could also book me for gallery events and or private parties, which can be a lot of fun, especially as the fall is happening. It's fun to sit out on somebody's porch and have a group of people while they're sipping their cider or whatever, and helping spirit get through those messages. So I will leave you with that. And I want to say once again, Anita, thank you so much for joining us today. I so appreciate you.
That's been fabulous. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to join you on your YouTube channel, Picasso. It's been lovely
Yay.
to